Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Brett Figueroa Show, where our ultimate aim is to move, to motivate, and inspire you into your ultimate greatness. Hey, it's great to have you with us either live or on the replay. And before we begin our show here today, I want to just take a moment. I want to welcome you, and I want to wish you and your family just an amazing Thanksgiving. This is such an amazing time of the year and a great opportunity during this time of the year to just give so much thanks. And so I want to say thank you to our listeners, to our viewers that are with us and that are watching, again, whether it be live or whether it be in the replay. And, you know, for those that have watched our show over the last couple months or so, we just talk about how we've been in such a crazy time over the last couple of years. And so I really wanted to create an episode here today that might be in alignment with, just some of the difficulty and some of the challenge that we've, as a culture, as a society, all around the world, not just like, locked in just one city or one country, but all over the world. So many have gone through such difficult times and challenging times and frustrating times and disappointing times. And, with COVID running rampant as it was, and quarantine and unemployment and, addictions to certain things. And, so we're at a different time of life right now. There's a lot of repercussion from that difficult season that you and I both experienced. And so that difficult season caused a lot of emotional setbacks for a lot of people, a lot of fear, a lot of frustration, a lot of disappointing times in people's lives. So I really wanted to, again, create a message here today that might be able to resonate with some of you that are out there that maybe are still going through and feeling and experiencing some of the past difficulties and traumas that we have experienced. So today we're going to talk about flexing your emotional muscle, flexing your emotional muscle. I love, I was thinking about, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Like, what's the message, that I want to really bring to the people today? It was really about, emotions are everything, right? So you and I, we're just a bundle of emotions, right? Where some emotions are super high and some emotions are super low. And, we experience all of the different emotions in between. And so, really understanding and identifying, those emotions, understanding and identifying the emotions, we're either going to be in control of our emotions, right? Or emotions are going to control us. Like something is going to happen. And so for so many, and I know for a very large part of my life, I never paid any attention to like, oh, where's my emotional state? I'm just at the cause or I'm just at the effect of it, right? I'm just experiencing that emotion rather than being in control of that emotion and being able to manipulate, modulate that emotion. I'm just being dragged around, right? Like being just tied onto the back of a car and just taking you on a joyride. And so it's really about how do we control, and have emotional mastery, right? Emotional mastery, to really be so aware of the emotion in which we're experiencing and to be able to recognize, is that emotion serving us? Is it that emotion serving the people around us, or is it enslaving us, right? Am I just at the effect of fear, or am I in control of that, where I can go from fear to courage, right? I can step right into courage. See, for most, they don't take the action because they're at the effect of feeling the fear. And instead of stepping into a virtuous state, the virtuous state of courage, for an example. And so it's really, today I'm again excited because it's really about how do I flex it, right? How do I flex courage? How do I flex it? And I think that, the ability to be able to flex our emotional muscle is so important because what happens is when we need courage, we have courage, right? It's hard to go from fear to courage, for an example, we'll say, if we don't have courage. Now, deep down inside, we have courage. But do we have courage on demand? Like, can we just step right into courage? Because we've done it so many times. We've gone into fear so many times, but have we flexed the emotional muscle, called fear or called faith or called courage? And so I'm just going to go through a few things here today. So step number one, talk about flexing the emotional muscle. Number one is to simply identify, right? To really just be able to identify the weakness. What is the emotional weakness? What part of my life am I emotionally weak in, right? Do I have faith, right? Do I have faith? Am I flexing my faith muscle every day, knowing that things will work out, right? It's so easy to cop in fear, it's not gonna work out, and this and all these different things. But do we step into faith and go, you know what, bam, it's gonna happen. It's gonna work itself out. Everything's gonna solve itself out. And instead, for what most do, and they have been guilty of it a million times over. It's easy to sit in pity, and it's easy to sit and wallow about worry about how this isn't going to happen or how that's not going to happen. Maybe it's all going to happen exactly, precisely, definitively the way in which it's supposed to happen. But the first thing is to really just identify, where is it? Maybe you're in that place of living in scarcity, right? Maybe living in scarcity. Maybe you're from a generation like myself where, we had parents, and parents had parents that came from the Depression. And so those parents taught our parents, like, hey, nothing else is coming, kid. This is what we got. And, don't eat it all at one time because, who knows if more is coming. Like, did you pick that up, and are you carrying that, and are you going to give that to your generations ahead of you, right? Because we can't let go, and instead of living in scarcity, we're able to step into abundance, right? Abundance is powerful. So what is it in your life where you say, man, if I could step more into faith and less into fear, if I can step more into love and less into doubt, right? If I can step more into happiness and joy, right? Versus anger and bitterness and jealousy and resentment and all those things. Because when we start thinking about some of the muscles, right, we're flexing something. We're either flexing courage or we're flexing fear. And whatever you flex grows. It's real simple. But what are we flexing? And so I think the first thing is to really identify. I remember hearing back years ago when Arnold Schwarzenegger was competing for, I believe it was Mr. America, or I think it was Mr. World, if that is even a title. I believe it is Mr. World. And he'd go to the gym. And Arnold had this, as we know, massive upper body. Like this huge upper body, huge arms, huge biceps, huge shoulders, like this massive. And I remember he talks about how he'd go to the gym and he'd wear sweats. And he thought, and the reason he wore sweats is because he wanted to cover it up. He wanted to cover up his tiny legs. And so he focused, on his strength, which was, I got big arms and big shoulders and big biceps. So he wanted to cover up his weakness. And one day he said, well, I can't be Mr. World if I got small, skinny legs. So in the gym, he takes a pair of scissors and cuts down his sweats into shorts so he could expose his weakness, so he could grow from that place. So maybe there's something that you look and go, what do I need to cut away at? So I could really begin to look at that. Maybe I live too much in depression. Maybe I live too much in disappointment. Maybe I live too much in anger. Begin to say where we are, the more power we have. Power is the ability to take action. And so what our programming is really all about, or any action, right? Don't just take action, take massive action. And so number one, identify, get really clear on that. Number two is decide. Make a decision, flat out, draw a line in the sand. Enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of living in scarcity. It's time to live in abundance. I'm tired of living in fear. It's time to step into my courage. Courageous people will always do what fearful people will never get themselves to do. So maybe this is that day for you. Maybe just make a decision. Make a decision to live life differently with a different set of emotions. Different set of emotions. We have to go in and just clean it up. We got to clean up the things that for many times we want to just put just kind of blind eye to, right? Like Arnold did with this. He didn't want to see it. I'm just going to put sweats over those legs. I got chicken legs. I'm going to just cover them up. Forget about it. Tear it down. Time to clean it up. Time to clean it up, right? We start cleaning up. You make a decision. You identify. And you say, I'm going to clean that part of my life up. That emotional part, right? That emotional part that runs your and I's life. Our lives are run on emotions. Period. All products are sold on emotions. People buy with emotions and they justify with logic, and they have a huge justification logic aspect, but it's an emotional aspect. I remember hearing a story a while back of a husband and wife, and they would look out their window and their neighbors had a clothesline and all these clothes, and they looked all dirty. And the husband and wife were like, why are they putting dirty clothes on their laundry line? And every day they'd see this laundry line, all these dirty clothes, and they thought, man, they must not know how to wash clothes. Well, one day, the wife had come downstairs, and she'd come downstairs in the kitchen, looked out the window, and the clothes looked as clean as fresh. I mean, they looked like they were brand new clothes, as clean as fresh. And the lady said, oh my gosh. She said to her husband, she must have learned how to wash. I mean, because those clothes look absolutely amazing today. He said, no, honey. He said, I just washed our windows. And so, right? So once we wash our windows and we clean things up, we see things different. You want to see a different life you want to see different outside the window into your life? Clean up the areas of your emotions that do not serve you, that don't serve your family, that don't serve society, that don't serve who you are as a man, as a woman, and to begin to go and clean those things up. It's not easy, but the fact is, if it was easy, anybody would do it. So number one, identify. Number two, make a decision. Make a decision to clean up the area of your life, the emotional area of your life that is more of a setback than a setup. And this is the time right now to set ourselves up, right? Because again, many of our emotions have gone unused, right? So as we mentioned, a muscle unused goes into atrophy, right? So the muscle starts to tear down and break down. And all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, look at myself, right? Muscles, they're not being used, man. They're being unused. They're going to atrophy. So if you're into atrophy and you're into having things just fall apart on you, then have at it. But I don't believe if you're here today, and I don't believe you're part of our work, the work in which we do, I believe you're more about doing something great. Shifting, deciding, transforming, changing, things of that. Number three, flex. Flex it. So once you start to work on that, so hypothetically, let's say I'm just too fearful. Well, identify the courage. Think of a time in your life when you really did something in your life where maybe you go, I was fearful, but I did it anyways, right? I stepped into that courage. Remind yourself of that situation and find a situation like that and find maybe one or two others. And then in the situation you're in currently, use those as a springboard, thinking, God, I did it before. I did it back then. I can do it again. I could become that person, but you got to flex it. You got to flex it. You've got to use it, right? You've got to step all into that space of flexing that emotional muscle. Flex courage, flex love, flex happiness, flex your abundance, flex our gratitude, right? People ask me, what's for me one of the places that I like to go into, especially when I'm in a not so good place. I might be in a funky place for whatever reason. For me, the first place I go to is gratitude. Like that's my go-to place is to go to gratitude. Because, I know a lot of people with a lot of money, like all of us. We know some people with some money maybe around us, right? But money doesn't make one rich. Money simply means that person has money. It doesn't make them rich. Now, in the context of money, they might be rich. But I've also met a lot of, quote, rich people, financial rich, but they don't have gratitude. They don't have gratitude in their heart. See, I believe those that are grateful are those that are rich. We talked about it. I was sharing this morning with somebody, talking about how most people count their blessings on their fingers and they count their miseries on an adding machine. Right? They're counting their miseries on an adding machine. I'm miserable about this. I'm miserable about this. I'm miserable about this. And the whole misery list just is giant. Right? And so it's easy to fall into depression. It's easy to fall into whatever that might be. Right? When we start adding our miseries up, maybe you might want to add your blessings. You might want to add your gratitude on your adding machine. And think about all of even the smallest things, the smallest, tiniest of things. We think many times, this has got to happen and that's got to happen and all these things have got to happen in order for me to be grateful. Maybe you're just grateful that you're alive. Maybe you're just grateful that you were able to wake up and you actually have eyes to be able to see. Maybe you're just grateful that, hey, I got hands. Like I got legs, I got ears, I got hair, I got kind of, sort of, And so begin to flex those muscles. And so do it. The key to flexing it is do it when you don't want to. Do it when you don't want to. Do it when you feel least inclined to want to do it. That's when you do it. See, anybody can feel courageous when it's easy to feel courageous. But can you feel courageous and step into courage when you don't feel like it? Can you step into happiness and joy and gratitude when you don't feel like it? Maybe you're feeling down and dead and depressed and dull, right? But again, anybody can do life when it's easy. But can you really grow from a place of doing it when you don't want to? See, that's where real growth comes around. Real growth comes when we're actually getting ourselves to do it when we don't want to do it. And we get ourselves to do it when we don't want to do it, that's when we go, boom, I felt down, I felt depressed, I felt this, I felt that, but I moved and I shifted my emotion into happiness or joy or love or gratitude. So my invitation here today is, really simple, that our emotions run our life. Our emotions run our life. So either we run our life or our emotions run our life. And for the most part, if we're not paying attention to our emotions, again, we're just being dragged around. And if you're into being dragged around, have at it, right? There's that sarcasm again. Or you can take control back into your life. Take control. So if you're feeling a certain way, snap out of that, right? Just snap out of that. Number 4 is to compound that growth. Compound the growth. So don't just step into, Einstein said the eighth great wonder, the eighth great miracle, whatever that is, eighth great wonder of the universe, is the miracle of compound interest. So the miracle of compound interest is because people put money in the bank and they keep it in the bank. And they allow that interest to compound, monthly, yearly, decade. They compound it. See, the reason why most people never reach compound interest is because they put money in, they take money out. They put money in, they take money out. The key is to put it in, keep it in. So once you identify that weakness, that emotional weakness, right? Make a decision. Boom, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm going to snap out of it. I'm going to clean things up. I'm going to look out my window and see clean laundry, right? You can clean it all up. And then flex it. Flex it every day. Flex it every opportunity that you have an opportunity to flex it. Just even when you don't want to, flex it anyways. Right? Do something radical so you're using it and you're applying it every day the best you can. Again, number 4, compounding the growth. Don't just do it once. Anybody can step into courage once. Anybody can step into abundance once. Anybody can step into happiness once. Right? Anybody can step into gratitude once, but don't just do it once, right? We don't get fit by going to the gym once. We've got to go to the emotional gym consistently. And the more we go to the gym and the more we flex those muscles and the more supplements that we put into our life and happiness and joy and love and things of that nature, the more we're going to become that. So do it daily. Flex the muscle daily. Grow daily. And I promise you, the more you flex it, the more you will become it. So if you're committed to doing something great, which I know you are, if you're committed to doing something off the hook, off the charts, doing something so you have a different trajectory for your family and the generations ahead, the time is now, right now, starting today. So I just want to say, as we begin to wrap up here, I just want to say it's always a great pleasure and it's always a great opportunity. We want to say thank you so much to our viewers that come in and with us for the 17, 20, sometimes 25, 30 minutes. We like to keep it a little short, keep it a little tight. Many times brevity is power. All right, you come in and grab one good idea, one good feeling, one good source of inspiration, one good something is something that moves us and propels us into action. So as we close out here today, number 1, identify. So if you're taking notes, again, identify. Get clear. Remember, clarity is power. Number 2, make a decision today. Go look at yourself man to man, woman to woman. Look at yourself in the eyes in the mirror, right? And say, okay, today's the day. Now, it's always hard, right? It's tough. It's rough. This kind of work is for the rough and tough people. They're willing to roll their sleeves up, dig in, dive in, and say, you know what? My future's bigger and greater than my past. Number 3 is flex it, right? We know whatever we flex grows. If you flex courage, it grows. If you flex fear, it grows. So you got to remember and pay close attention to what are you flexing on a consistent, ongoing basis. Number 4 is compound growth. Allow it to grow, allow it to stack, allow it to become more and more and more and more and more. And you will become more and more and more and more. So as we sign out here today, I just want to say, again, thank you so much. We love our audience. We love our friends that are out there. No matter where in the world you are, we're so grateful. And again, during this season that we are in right now, this Thanksgiving season, just give thanks to the people around you. Just, we have to think about, right? Thanksgiving is such an amazing, amazing time to talk to our friends and thank them for being in our life, and talk to our children and talk to our family and talk to the different people. Maybe you have neighbors that you haven't communicated with, and have that sense of gratitude. I promise you that if you can fill your heart, fill your soul with gratitude, you are going to feel so rich, so much love, and so powerful. It's not about a new car. It's not about a new house. It's not about a new wristwatch. It's not about a new airplane. It's about having a sense of richness and love and happiness and joy that you create because you decided to control your emotions instead of your emotions controlling you. So we are closing up today's episode on flexing your emotional muscle. We wish each and every one of you, again, an amazing, amazing Thanksgiving. We love having you part of our show. Please make sure you come back, and maybe you have a friend. Our outcome is to get our message to the world, to the best that we can, to the people that are in need of the message. There's some people out there, they're happy, this is going on, making tons of money, life is awesome. Our message is for those people that are going through struggles, frustrating times, challenging times, a setback, some type of a something, or man, maybe it's a spark, an idea, a strategy, a philosophy, a breathing hope into that person's life. So maybe you have a friend, maybe you have a neighbor, maybe you have a son or a daughter or somebody, and you say, you know what, this message is for them. Right? Make sure you share that message with them. If you got ideas or any value out of any of our messages, make sure you just take a little moment, put a little copy in there. Again, our messages outcome is to get the message out to the world, and it works best if people are liking things, loving things, sharing things, commenting on things. So until next time, again, happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. Take charge, take control of your emotional destiny. We will see you back here, and again, as our aim is to move, to motivate, and inspire you into your ultimate greatness. So until next time, everybody, have yourself an amazing, amazing rest of the week, an amazing Thanksgiving, and we'll see you back on the next episode of the Brett Figueroa Show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you soon. Bye.